Hello, everyone. It's Shelley, and welcome to episode 48 of SNOWED, the Michael Snow is a Fraud story. This is going to be a really good one. I have a special guest, and it's somebody I have spoken about and alluded to, and she's got a lot to say. This is going to be a good one.
Well, hi, Mike and Shelley's followers. You've all heard about me, as she said. I am the farmer's wife, Cindy. So, how I met Mike was not through my ex-husband, but was actually through Plenty of Fish, the dating site. It was mid-2020, COVID had hit, and he was hauling cattle at the time. So the story I was told, the reason he moved to Saskatchewan was because he was working for Stars and flying out of Regina, but he lived in Moose Jaw, which I thought was a little odd. Why wouldn't you live in Regina? But he said he had family members here. I knew of Shelley, but she was the house cleaner, not a girlfriend. He had dated her previously, but they hadn't been together for the last 2 years. So there was that little tidbit, and I always thought it was weird because I had been on 5 trips with him, and there was many a times during these trips he would check the cameras to see what was going on, and I'd see Shelley in the screenshot, and oh, parcel must have just arrived to the house, or oh, she's doing this, she's doing that. I just thought it was really odd. So yes, Mike led me to believe that he was a very well-off man, being that he was a helicopter pilot also. But it seemed a little strange to me, but I'm that type of person. I want to help a friend out. He would get in a tight bind. He needed $100. He needed $200 here. His microwave went. Needed money for whatever in the truck. So me being a good friend, as I thought, I would lend him the money. In the beginning, he did pay me back some of those loans. He led me to believe he owned multiple properties, one here in Moose Jaw, that while on one of our trips, he was getting someone to send documents about getting a franchise that he wanted to build on this property here in Moose Jaw. So yes, seeing firsthand him doing business deals led me to believe that he is a true businessman. He is true to his word, that he is this helicopter pilot, but had been grounded not long after I had met him due to cancer of the nose. So he plays a really good role. So I've mentioned these trips that I went on Mike with. I went on about 5 different trips. There was one trip that I went on with another woman with him. She, on the trip, was talking to me about how she had invested money with Mike in a business, and that he was going to turn this money into so much money for her, and that it would be a good idea that if I had any spare cash laying around, that maybe I should invest with him also. Also on this trip, I was led to believe, and the way she was acting is that they were dating. The one thing with Mike and myself, or Mr. Snow, is we never actually technically dated. He did ask me if I would be interested in dating, but I just said I wasn't quite ready for that just yet. But good friends would be good for now, and that's the way we left that. But no, she felt full-blown that they were in a relationship. The word of marriage was thrown around also while on that trip. Another little tidbit of information. Well, this trip, we went out to BC. Drove in this other lady's vehicle. And there was talks of his boat that he had dry docked in BC. We never did go to see the boat. I guess we didn't get that far. But I had heard about this boat quite a few times. So it would have been nice to have seen it if it was there. So I finally got to meet Denise. I believe he met her after I'd been on a second trip with Mike, Mr. Snow. And we made friends, got to hang out a little bit. And it was after a bit of time, she was telling me stuff that didn't quite jive with what Mr. Snow had been telling me. So it raised a few red flags with me. So I just sort of kept little notes in my head. And I'm more of the person who likes to sit back and listen, see what people have got to say. So I was putting 2 and 2 together. They were not equaling 4 by any means of the game here. So it raised a lot of red flags. So the more and more Denise and I talked, we figured it out that he was actually in a relationship with Shelley, which was a bit of an eye-opener because he's been in so many relationships with other women that I have felt that feeling when I meet these women. So how is he doing all of this? Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the night that he was kicked out. I got a phone call early in the morning. I met him here in Regina. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. He was pretty eager for me to get here before 3 because he needed me to pick up a bottle of Crown Royal for him. The bottle shop, I guess, in Regina that night closed at 3. So we got a hotel. He was too tired to drive the rest of the way to Whitewood. So the next morning we continued on. He stayed at my place for 2 weeks. If he wasn't at my house, which was not very often if I wasn't there myself, he was at my place of employment, or he was at the bar across the street. He had my phone because he said his wasn't working. He had a substantial amount of money owing on his bill. So he needed to use my phone for the Wi-Fi and everything else. So in this 2-week stint that he was at my place, this is when the love bombing really came on thick. Give me 6 months. Give us 6 months. We'll see what happens. In 6 months, we'll see where things go. I'm like, okay, sure. And also in this 2 weeks, I live on a small chunk of land, and it's right on the highway, number 1. And him being a semi-driver, he wanted to build this big shop on my property that he and Rob would build apartments at the top of it so that they could live there. Now, he was telling me that, we'd have to build another driveway in so that the semis could get in and could they get over the railway tracks and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, how are we paying for this? And he's like, oh, we'll just use the equity in your house and the land that you have. We'll use that up, build the shop, and then I will just lease it or rent it from you. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Unbeknownst to Mike, Mr. Snow, I was never going to be building anything like that on my property because you're not using my house equity for shit. So to get him out of my place after the 2 weeks, he really needed to have his phone bill paid so that he could get a job out in Winnipeg. He needed his phone to be able to contact semi-drive or semi-places for him to go get a job. So I reluctantly, but finally did pay his phone bill for him and got him on his way to Winnipeg, where he was heading out to his friend's place, who I had met previously because she'd been on a trip with him. He went to Leslie's place in Winnipeg, and that's where he still is, as I believe.
So how did you like that? Wasn't that a great treat? Fun surprise? Anyways, stay tuned for 49 because Cindy, the farmer's wife, has plenty more to tell you.